know something?
What?
I didn't think I was going to like you at first.
Yeah?
But I like you now. I wish Mother was here.
This is the Candyland Hour for all good children. The orchestra will play our theme song.
You know that song, don't you?
Sure I do.
Everyone knows the name Shirley Temple, whether you're picturing the bright-eyed child star or the cherry-flavored mocktail. But recent revelations have exposed the cruel treatment Shirley had to go through to keep the place in front of the camera. Buckle up, people, because we are about to delve into the most sinister incidents that took place on the face of the earth. Most Americans know Shirley Temple as the adorable child actor with curly hair who graced movie screens from 1935 to 1938. After enjoying a successful career as an entertainer, Temple dedicated herself to public service, working as a politician and ambassador.
Never liked dumb coffee, Cap.
Shirley was born on April 23, 1928 in Santa Monica, California. Her mother was a homemaker and her father worked at a bank. As a child, Temple showed interest in the arts. She loved dancing and singing. In 1931, her mother decided to enroll her in dance school. After a casting director, Charles Lamount, noticed her in class, she was offered a role to appear in short films. In no time, Shirley had a contract with Educational Pictures.
Why are they sending so many soldiers, Daddy, if it's only going to be a little war?
Make those stubborn boys take us seriously this time, my darling.
The star child's acting career started off rocky. She played roles in several unsuccessful short films. But the fortune smiled on her in 1933. A talent agent recognized her dancing in a hotel lobby, and he immediately signed her to Fox Film Corporation. For the next few years, Temple turned out box office hits. She was even honored with a miniature Oscar for her acting. With her curly hair and dimples, she captured the hearts of Americans during one of the country's worst economic recessions, the Great Depression. Her films often centered on jovial themes which provided Americans with an escape during hardship.
Got the S-M-I-L-E.
Temple landed a role in her first feature film, The Red-Haired Alibi. Her breakthrough film came in May of 1934 with Fox Studios' Stand Up and Cheer. In December, she starred in Bright Eyes with James Dunn, a film written specially for her. By the end of the year, Temple had starred in 10 movies, including 4 starring roles in major feature films. From 1932 to 1949, Temple starred in over 40 films for major studios such as RKO, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Fox, Paramount, Universal, and the infamous Selznick International Pictures.
You won't go away and leave me, will you, Lamb?
Oh, no, darling, I won't.
You stay here till my big girl.
Although Temple was one of the most popular actresses, she remained underpaid. Since she was a child, her finances were managed by her parents. Her family fought for her to receive just compensation as a child actor. Throughout her career, Temple's brand was used in popular merchandise. Fans owned Temple clothes, sheet music, and soap. In 1958, Temple hosted a television series called Shirley Temple's Storybook. The show was canceled, but her role spawned another line of successful merchandise which included dolls, handbags, and coloring books. At the height of her career, Temple endorsed several major companies such as General Electric and Quaker.
And welcome again to Stage 2 at NBC in California. Just a great big empty room, about half the size of a football field, with barren rafters and...
When Shirley Temple appeared in War Babies, her first credited role, she was only 3 years old. The film was one of the Baby Burlesques, a series of 8 shorts that satirized major motion pictures, film stars, celebrities, and current events. In these often inappropriate, suggestive one-reelers, children mimic adults. They would dress in adult costumes but wear diapers fastened with large safety pins. For that particular short, Temple played the part of an escort worker named Charmaine. Shirley played an exotic dancer while satirized adults gawking at her.
Come here, Nurse. I got a present for you. Me, monsieur. Yeah, wait, just wait.
In her autobiography, Temple recalled the film series as a cynical exploitation of our childish innocence. She revealed that if any of the 24 children misbehaved, they were locked in a windowless sound booth dubbed the punishment box, where they'd be forced to sit on a block of ice. Temple was sent to the box several times, but she says, "As far as I can tell, the black box did no lasting damage to my psyche." Its lesson of life, however, was profound and unforgettable. Time is money. Wasted time means wasted money, means trouble. Ultimately, Shirley was treated like a money-making tool rather than a person by the people she worked for. In 1932, she got an ear infection and had to have her eardrum lanced at a hospital. Rather than showing any kindness, the producer demanded that she return to the studio the following morning and threatened to fire her if she didn't. Shirley had achieved international stardom with the release of Bright Eyes in 1934. Between 1935 and 1938, she was the world's top box office star, leaving Clark Gable in second place. By 1940, however, her best films with 20th Century Fox were behind her. After 2 box office flops, Fox dropped her contract. That same year, and at the tender age of 12, she signed with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. At the time, MGM reportedly ran their child stars into the ground by forcing them to shoot film after film so the studio could capitalize on their youthful talent. Tragically, this wasn't the only way in which key MGM employees exploited the young star. Aside from the awful punishments and pressure, Shirley also had to endure harassment as a child. According to Temple, on her first visit to MGM, she met one of the studio's producers, Arthur Freed. During a private meeting, Freed unzipped his trousers and exposed himself to her, saying, "I have something made just for you." She responded by giggling nervously, and he threw her out of his office. Freed went on to produce films such as Annie Get Your Gun and Singin' in the Rain. In an interview with CNN, Shirley spilled the beans on the encounter. She said,
"I thought he was a producer, but instead he was an exhibitor. And I'd never seen anyone before, except myself, so I had no clue about what was happening."
To make things worse, Temple revealed that the same thing happened to her mother as well.
"Mom, you won't believe what happened to me." And I told her what happened, and she got kind of quiet, and she said, "Well, you don't know what happened to me."
Years later, Anita Colby, who was artistic director for producer David O. Selznick of Gone with the Wind fame, warned Temple to be careful if she found him, Selznick, in stockings. Temple wrote in her autobiography, Child Star, that this gave her the impression that casual, intimate relationship could be a condition of employment with Selznick. Sadly, it seemed it was, as evidenced by her own words. "Coming around to my side of the desk, he reached and took my hand in his. Glancing down, I saw the telltale stocking feet. Pulling free, I turned for the door, but even more quickly, he reached back over the edge of his desk and flicked a switch I had learned from Colby was a remote door locking device. I was trapped." Like the cartoon of Wolf and Piglet, once again we circled in reverse directions around his furniture. Blessed with the agility of a young dancer and confronted by an amorous but overweight producer, I had little difficulty avoiding passionate clumsiness. For the entirety of her brief film career, Temple was forced to fight off offenders as she was regularly groped, threatened, and terrorized by men. After she rebuked one Hollywood producer for his advances, he responded, "Look, I'm going to be a big executive. We're going to have to get along. What I had in mind was just a workplace formality. S is like a glass of water. You get thirsty, you drink, you want it, you have it." Now this one might surprise you because the beloved comedian George Jessel also once invited her to his office to discuss a key role in his upcoming film, but things were not as straight as it sounded. We were standing at a pace apart, eyeball to eyeball. In one swift movement, he opened his trousers and with a sudden reach encircled me with one arm. I could feel his other hand groping to lift my shirt. Hard on the heels of the wizard, this new seemed unreal, but little could I do but thrust my right knee upward into his groin. Pain, disgust, and hate flickered across his face, but I felt no mercy. More and more, the adult movie business seemed populated with a bunch of copulating tomcats. To add to that, certain scenes from Shirley Temple's early films have come under scrutiny for their uncomfortable nature. One such instance can be found in the 1936 film Bright Eyes, where Temple, just a toddler, sings the iconic song On the Good Ship Lollipop, while surrounded by a dozen grown men. The scene unfolds in an uncomfortably short baby doll dress, as the men carry, hold, and touch the young star.
On the good ship, Lollipop, it's a sweet trip to a candy shop where bonbons play.
But the unsettling portrayal doesn't end there. In the 1936 film Poor Little Rich Girl, Temple's innocence is repeatedly compromised as she becomes the object of unwarranted attention from adult men. The entire film seems to serve as a chilling testament to the dark underbelly of early Hollywood.
Every word I hear sounds like a lullaby when I'm with you.
With the arrival of Shirley Temple to the film industry, creeps from all across the globe could fulfill their sick, twisted fantasies from the comfort of the movie theater. And when these movies later came out on home media, the problem only became worse and more easily hidden. Despite being the golden child, Shirley's father robbed her of her money. You see, in the beginning of Temple's career with 20th Century Fox, the studio was on the verge of bankruptcy. Thanks to the golden-haired child's popularity with the American public, that all changed. After a lengthy legal dispute, Temple's salary at Fox was increased more than sixfold, and her mother received an additional $250 a week. For each completed film, a $15,000 bonus was placed in a trust fund for her, and the amount was later raised to $35,000. However, the world's highest-earning child was only given access to about $13 a month in pocket money. At her peak, Temple commanded $10,000 a week. One can imagine her surprise when, as an adult, she discovered that despite having earned $3.2 million, she had only $44,000 in her bank accounts. Her father had allegedly failed to place her childhood earnings in the court-ordered trust fund. In her autobiography, the ever-forgiving Temple describes the spendthrift's financial ineptitude with total dispassion. She said, "For reasons some may find inexplicable, I felt neither disappointment nor anger." Temple found herself being a victim to men's twisted fantasies in reviews for her movies as well. She also had to confront the statements made by Graham Greene regarding her career. His inappropriate descriptions of her at a young age were indeed disturbing and widely criticized. Referring to her 1936 film, Captain January, Greene wrote her neat and well-developed rump twisted in the tap dance. It's important to note that Temple was 8 years old at the time. Greene's comments were highly controversial, as he made inappropriate observations about Temple's appearance and implied improper intentions on the part of her adult admirers. In addition, in his 1937 review of Wee Willie Winkie, he stated his lecherous observations, saying, "Wearing short kilts, she is a complete totsy. Watch the way she measures a man with agile studio eyes, with dimpled depravity. Adult emotions of love and grief glissade across the mask of childhood, a childhood skin deep." Her admirers, middle-aged men and clergymen, respond to her dubious coquetry, to the sight of her well-shaped and desirable little body, packed with enormous vitality, only because the safety curtain of story and dialogue drops between their intelligence and their desire. In response to Greene's remarks, Shirley and 20th Century Fox took legal action against him and his publisher, suing them for libel. The lawsuit resulted in a victory for Temple and the film studio. The court's ruling recognized the defamatory nature of Greene's comments and held him accountable for his offensive statements. However, there is no telling of the damage this must have done to that little girl's mind and self-image at the time. It is important to note that such remarks are entirely inappropriate and disrespectful, especially when directed towards a child. In a shocking and disturbing turn of events in 1939, Shirley found herself at the center of a truly bizarre accusation. A woman gripped by a delusion believed that Temple had somehow stolen her own daughter's soul. Consumed by her misguided belief, this woman hatched a sinister plan to attack Temple during a live radio performance of the beloved Christmas carol, Silent Night. Driven by her unfounded conviction that shooting Temple would release her daughter's soul from captivity, the woman brazenly attempted to carry out her twisted plot. But fortune favored Temple that fateful night, as the woman's dark intentions were ultimately thwarted. Whether it was a stroke of luck or divine intervention, the deranged woman failed in her malevolent mission.
Grandfather might not know me.
Oh, you're going to leave us tonight, are you?
Yes, Claire's going to ask her papa to send me.
Now, he'll be here in a few moments, and I've come to tell you that when you meet him, you're to say, "How do you do?"
You might be surprised to know that as a child, Temple was an avid reader and especially enjoyed the Wizard of Oz series written by L. Frank Baum. In her memoir, she revealed that she was so absorbed in the stories of Oz that when her mother suggested she could play Dorothy. However, she really just wanted to meet Dorothy. But in 1937, she learned of a negotiation between Fox and MGM that involved loaning her to MGM for a Wizard of Oz production. Ultimately, the role was given to Judy Garland, who was 4 years older. Without question, Garland was a more developed singer.
No, it was an accident. I didn't mean to anybody.
Well, my little pretty, I can cause accidents too. Aren't you forgetting the ruby slippers?
Although this may have been one of the biggest disappointments of Temple's career, the silver lining was that she was spared yet another. According to Garland, MGM studio head Louis Mayer routinely fondled her left breast, telling her that she sang from the heart. When Garland finally confronted him about this behavior, Mayer seemed shocked. He told her that he felt he was like a father to her. Apart from that, Temple was also made a victim of exploitation by her viewers. Rumors spread around that she was not in fact a child, but a 30-year-old woman posing as a young girl. Her critics would point out her stocky build and adult-like teeth were actually due to a dental plate that she would wear on set to conceal her tooth gaps. This rumor became so prevalent that when Temple was 10 years old, the Vatican sent over Father Silvio Massante to investigate the claims of her being an adult. Vicious fans also claimed that her famous trademark blonde curls were a wig, so she would often get her hair yanked and pulled on by strangers, trying to prove the rumor true. In reality, her ringlet curls were maintained by a torturous nightly process and a weekly vinegar soak that would burn and sting her eyes. It was because of this that Temple found herself wishing she wore a wig. Shirley, once the darling of Hollywood and adored by millions, experienced a significant shift in public perception as she entered her teenage years. The young star, who had charmed even the highest echelons of society, including President Roosevelt and his wife, as well as aviator Amelia Earhart, found herself facing the inevitable passage of time. The president used to call Temple Little Miss Miracle for raising the public's morale during times of economic hardship, even going so far as to say, "As long as our country has Shirley Temple, we will be all right." Temple's song and dance routine to the tune On the Good Ship Lollipop in 1934's Bright Eyes earned her a special Academy Award for Outstanding Personality of 1934. By 1945, at the age of 17, Temple's trademark golden locks had darkened to brown, mirroring the changing tides of her career. Film historian David Thompson labeled her as an unremarkable teenager, highlighting the stark contrast to her previous status as one of the world's most beloved and famous stars. In an attempt to honor the fading star's legacy, the iconic Brown Derby restaurant in Hollywood created a drink named after her, the Shirley Temple. Composed of lemon-lime soda, grenadine, and topped with a maraschino cherry, the beverage became a symbol of her innocent charm, despite Temple herself not particularly enjoying it. When Temple began to mature, her popularity with audiences waned. As an adolescent, she appeared in The Bluebird, which performed poorly at the box office. At age 19, she co-starred as Susan Turner in The Bachelor and The Bobby Soxer with Cary Grant and Myrna Loy. Though the film received critical praise, audiences struggled to accept that their Little Miss Miracle was growing up.
I've thrown away my toys, even my...
Following her 1948 appearance opposite John Wayne in Fort Apache, Temple found it increasingly difficult to land major roles. During the 1950s and early 60s, she made scattered appearances on the small screen, but her career as a popular film star had ended at an earlier age than most entertainers had begun.
It's all right. There's no one here but me, and I've been up for simply ages. Did you want to see Father or me?
It is heartbreaking to know that Shirley's troubles were not only related to the Hollywood industry. John Agar, known for his roles in a series of low-budget horror films, had a dark and troubled personal life that starkly contrasted with his on-screen persona. Despite his handsome appearance, Agar's real-life actions revealed a deeply troubling side. In a shocking turn of events, the young and impressionable Shirley Temple, just 17 years old at the time, entered into an ill-fated marriage with Agar in 1945.
The little golden-haired tot who warmed the hearts of millions of film fans has grown up. Shirley Temple at 17 wed Sergeant George Agar in Hollywood.
From the moment they exchanged vows, Temple's life took a harrowing turn for the worse. Behind closed doors, Agar revealed himself to be an abusive alcoholic, subjecting his teenage wife to a relentless cycle of physical and emotional exploitation. His infidelity became a constant presence, shattering any semblance of trust or stability in their relationship. To make matters even more distressing, Agar found himself in frequent legal trouble due to his reckless drunk driving, adding another layer of chaos to their already tumultuous marriage. In 1949, Temple had finally reached her breaking point and courageously took a stand against the torment she endured. She filed for divorce, citing Agar's mental cruelty as the grounds for dissolution. However, instead of accepting responsibility for his actions, Agar resorted to blaming Temple for the demise of their marriage. After some time, she married Charles Alden Black after a 12-day courtship, and their marriage lasted almost 55 years, until Black's death in 2005. Shirley officially retired from acting in 1950 at the age of 22. She starred in 29 films from the ages of 3 to 10, but only ended up appearing in 10 from the ages of 14 to 21. As Temple's entertainment work petered out, she refocused her efforts on a career in public service. In 1967, she ran unsuccessfully for a U.S. congressional seat.
Sincerely ask the citizens of this district to please give me their help and their vote in November.
From 1969 to 70, she served as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. Temple was appointed ambassador to Ghana in 1974. 2 years later, she became Chief of Protocol of the United States, a position that she would hold until 1977. In 1988, Temple became the only person to date to achieve the rank of Honorary U.S. Foreign Service Officer. From 1989 to 92, she entered into yet another public service role, this time as ambassador to Czechoslovakia. Temple was honored at the Kennedy Center for her contributions to early film and American culture. It's safe to say that the world grew much kinder to Temple in her later years, as opposed to her time as a child star.
It means so much to me, being from my peer group in the Screen Actors Guild.
The legacy of Shirley Temple is important to the film world and still remains a staple of Hollywood culture, but it's important that we do not look back on these times with rose-colored glasses. Fans all over the world believe that Hollywood is sinister to allow such concepts to be portrayed at any point in time. What gets me is how open and suggestive the film is. They really aren't trying to hide it, almost as if it's completely normal. Was common back then and more accepted, or was hated just as much? If that's the case, why on earth did they make a movie like this? Another added, the disturbing thing about these movies is that they are treating a little girl as an adult. It's creepy. The whole daddy song, who the looks at their child like that? And the peppermint guy, almost like she is an adult being pestered by an admirer. All in all, it is quite obvious that Shirley was mistrusted from day one, and it lasted till the end of her career. It is unsettling to note that Shirley was only a toddler when she first appeared on the screen. It's no secret that Shirley, with her innocence, attracted all the creeps of the society, whether it was behind the scenes or in the audience. That's it for today. See you at the next one. Goodbye!